Hello and welcome to our final week of the Rock Your Resolutions Challenge. We are officially into week 9, and I hope that you're feeling encouraged, proud of yourself. This week is definitely a week of celebration for all of the hard work that you've been putting in, and I hope that you feel that way. It's been, in some ways it's been a really short challenge. 9 weeks goes by really fast. I've had a couple of you kind of reach out and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already the final week. And then sometimes it feels really long because, it's not easy to make this amount of change in this short period of time. So congratulations, you've made it this far, and I hope that you feel encouraged to continue on this path beyond this challenge. That would be my goal as well. Hope you really enjoyed the process and can take some of it with you into this next step in your journey. So today we're going to be talking about the big picture. We've been really dialing down into the nitty-gritty of safe and sustainable body transformation and fat loss over the last 9 weeks. We've been really dialing in on details and then putting each of those details into action week by week. So now I want to take a big step back, kind of take us back to the beginning of why we started this challenge, and kind of remind you of everything that you've been working on these last couple of weeks so that you feel charged up and ready to continue on your path. So I want to take us back to the very beginning, before we even started, to the masterclass that I offered that some of you did take. And if you didn't, this is an opportunity to get a little bit of a bigger picture on why this challenge exists and why it's important for us to spend time learning these habits and these behaviors, because they really are what have been proven to work. So we started the challenge and the masterclass talking about why the traditional methods of fat loss have not worked and why they are kind of relics of the past, and why we need to be thinking a little bit differently and how this challenge was built. So we went over the 3 fat loss myths, the first one being that simply continuing to cut our calories, our caloric intake, is the way to lose fat. That was the way of the past, thinking that we just continue to eat less and burn more, and that is automatically going to yield the results that we want. And what has been found is that just simply doesn't work. Our bodies are not just machines that have an input and an output, and we get the result that we want on the output. There's a lot of complicated things going on, including your energy levels, your body composition, your stress levels, your sleep, hormones, age. A lot of different factors go into this that just mean that this theory of calories in, calories out, or CECO, just don't work and can be damaging long term. And here's a quick little diagram to show how that works in our bodies. That line that goes straight down the center is our line, our basically our homeostasis, at which we can eat food and burn calories that yield a net change of 0, meaning that we don't gain weight and we don't lose weight. We are just maintaining. We are in homeostasis. And then when we decrease our calories over a long period of time, our new homeostasis moves down to that lighter blue line. We move down to that dotted line. And that's what happens when we cut calories for a really long period. Our body is going to want to find a new homeostasis. So we might lose weight initially, but eventually our body is going to adjust everything, basically everything it does, to find that new balance, that new homeostasis. And now we are at a much lower caloric intake for our new homeostasis. But what happens for most people is that is not sustainable, and they eventually end up going back up to the caloric intake that they were at before. And that's that red line moving back up to our previous homeostasis, or anyone above the dotted blue line. And now that means that we are in a net positive change in weight, because we're now, even though we're eating the way we used to eat, that is above our homeostasis, the newly established homeostasis. And that is why the calories in, calories out theory just doesn't work in the long term. And most people cannot sustain having a much lower, significantly lowered caloric intake over the long term. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not sustainable. So this is why that theory just doesn't work and why we don't use it any longer. The second fat loss myth that we covered is that cardio is the best way to burn calories and therefore will yield higher fat loss. And I only list 2 studies here, but there is just a plethora of information out there. Feel free to take a look at why straight cardio is just not the best way to go. And I know that was something, I know that when I was starting exercising and looking to lose weight, that was what I thought too. But thank God I was taught something better, and I hope that you guys have seen through this challenge that we didn't have to spend hours and hours on the treadmill or any other cardio machine to yield the results that you were looking for. So it's just proven that it's just not the best way to lose weight, and also not sustainable. We can't just keep spending hours and hours and hours on the treadmill to hopefully lose weight. And then the third fat loss myth that we covered is that the number on the scale does not dictate your success. And that is why for this challenge, we didn't step on the scale once, not once. That the number on the scale might not give us the full picture of what's happening underneath. And I gave you a quick little diagram of how that might look, that, you could not have any loss in lean muscle, but you lose 10 pounds of fat. You're going to look significantly different, right? Because the volume that fat takes up in your body is different than the volume that muscle takes up. Muscle takes up a little bit less volume than fat does. So you lose 10 pounds of fat and not lose any muscle, and you're going to look much more lean, correct? Or you could lose 10 pounds by losing half of it in fat and half of it in muscle. And ultimately, you're not going to look that different. You've lost the same amount of both. Or you could lose no fat and lose 10 pounds, but it's all coming from lean muscle, meaning that you are now 10 pounds lighter, but you look more fat, for lack of a better term, right? So those are 3 different scenarios. They're all losing 10 pounds, but you're going to look very different depending on what we're losing. But the scale doesn't tell us that. So this is something that I hope that you've seen through this challenge, that, even if you did happen to step on the scale because you were tempted to do so and you didn't see a huge change on the scale, hopefully you were also finding that you were changing, that you were fitting into your clothes better, even though the scale did not really show that. All right. And after learning those 3 myths, or just debunking those 3 myths, we come up with the 4 pillars of fat loss. These are the things that actually do yield results, and safe and sustainable results, more importantly. So the 4 pillars are proper nutrition, strategic exercise, again, not just exercise, but strategic exercise, guidance and accountability, having that layer of accountability. I hope you found in this challenge, having those weekly check-ins, the calls, knowing that I'm looking at your food journals each and every week. Having that there is a really useful way to stay on track. And it's a very important part of something really difficult, which would be like a body transformation or fat loss challenge. And then the last piece of the puzzle, which we've been talking about more recently, is all the extra stuff that's just going to help support your fat loss. By themselves may not make a big difference, but in combination with the other 3 pillars will make the world of difference. So going in a little bit more detail, as we were going through this challenge, we went through each of those 4 pillars piece by piece, and we started with the nutrition piece. We talked about tracking our nutrition, being aware of what we're putting in our body, and changing exactly what we're eating to help us ultimately consume less total calories. And notice we weren't counting calories as part of this challenge, but we talked about ways to change what we were eating in order to ultimately eat less or take less energy in. So we talked about having a positive nitrogen balance, aka eating more protein, and that's been a huge piece of this challenge. And we talked about the fact that eating more protein has been shown in studies to yield a lower total caloric intake, because eating more protein not only makes us feel more full and more satiated, not just while we're eating, but for longer throughout the day. But it also takes a little bit of energy to process and metabolize protein, and therefore we're creating more of a caloric deficit throughout the day. And when we talk about having that positive nitrogen balance, the ultimate goal is that we're building lean muscle, that we're using that positive nitrogen balance to trigger our body to maintain lean muscle and give up fat. And by having that lean muscle on our body, we're burning more calories at rest, meaning that not just the calories we burn during our workout, but calories that are being burned throughout the day, every single day, because we have more lean muscle. And then we talked a little bit about the timing of eating and making sure that we're tracking and keeping track of that, and how important that can be, that we're keeping our gas tank with steady fuel so our car can continue to run continuously, not clogging the tank and not letting our tanks run on empty, right? And then we were talking about strategic exercise. We've been doing this entire challenge. We started with strength training, and that is the basis for strategic exercise. So we talked about why that's so important, that we need to create a stimulus to tell our body that all that positive nitrogen balance we've been creating through our diet is going to be used for something. And instead of using it as a stimulus to store fat, we're telling our body that we need to prioritize muscle maintenance. We need to prioritize recovering from those strength workouts, building more lean muscle, laying down new lean muscle on top of that is going to be the priority, and that fat storage is not as important. And then we added on the second piece, which was the metabolic resistance training. Those were your metabolic workouts, your metcons, in other words. And that was that stimulus to help mobilize fat out of our cells. Studies have shown that these metabolic resistance or interval trainings can help to mobilize fat out of cells faster than other types of training. So in combination, those two things are telling our body it's okay to let go of fat. We need to prioritize muscle maintenance. And then we talked about adding in extra work in and above that. We talked about the NEAT, the NEAT, N-E-A-T, any exercise that is outside of normal exercise. So continuing to walk, take the stairs, standing at your desk, taking walk breaks, all the extra stuff that happens throughout the day, deep cleaning your house, vacuuming, all those things that are non-exercise related, but can help us burn calories throughout the day, not just during our workouts. And then we talked about, or didn't talk about it, we included guidance and we included accountability as a big part of this challenge. Having the chat where we check in with each other and share experiences, share wins, share challenges, where you guys were turning in your food journals every single week and completing those weekly reflections as a part of this accountability piece, that you know someone else is going to watch. And that's that Hawthorne effect. If you know someone else is watching, you behave differently just because there are different eyes on it. And hopefully you found that this challenge did save you some stress and some energy and time, knowing that all the pieces were laid out for you every single week, that your workouts were taken care of, that you had the guidance, and that you had a system to follow, so that there was no guesswork. You knew exactly what to do each and every week. And hopefully that saved you some stress and some energy and time. And the last piece were the enhancements. And again, these are all those things that by themselves won't make much of a difference in your fat loss journey or your transformation journey, but when combined with the other three pieces, the other three pillars, they make a world of difference. So we talked about adding in vitamins and supplements as your safety net to fill in any of the holes that are created from our nutrition habits, making sure that all of those holes are plugged so that your cells know that it's okay to let go of fat. All of its nutritional needs are taken care of, and it's okay that we don't need to go into storage mode. And we talked the last 2 weeks about stress, about sleep, and we've been talking about hydration the whole challenge. I hope you guys are staying hydrated as those last pieces that are going to only accelerate all of the hard work that you've been doing. So making sure that you take time to sleep as a part of your creating a good circadian rhythm, which is how your stress system operates, making sure that we have a normal stress system and that we're taking the time to turn off our stress system so that we're not constantly on that fight or flight mode and continuing to pump those stress hormones throughout our body, which are telling our body to pump glucose into our bloodstream and therefore ending up resulting in more fat storage. And all of this can be summarized in a neat little pyramid. Again, you guys have seen these week after week. This is the hierarchy of fat loss by Alan Cosgrove. And this is just a really nice way to encapsulate all the things that we've talked about in a different way. So you have the 4 pillars and we have the hierarchy of fat loss, both of which go together, right? Everything is backed by science and all is in this nice little package. So the base of the pyramid, again, is about the nutrition. If we don't have any time at all, if we can't take on any extra workouts, the nutrition is going to make all the difference, okay? So that's been the kind of the core of this challenge. And then we added on the resistance training, making sure that each week we are progressing a little bit, whether or not that's adding extra reps, extra sets, additional weight, slowing it down, making it challenging every single week. So we're continuing to stimulate our muscles to build back stronger. And then we added in the interval training on top of that to help, again, mobilize fat out of the cells. We talked about adding in additional cardio, which is kind of like low level movement throughout the day, because at a certain point, we run out of time to strength train and we run into overtraining barriers. So I can't just ask you to strength train heavy every single day and expect the results to get better. We need time to rest and recover and rebuild those muscles stronger. So at a certain point, we've done everything we need to do. The only place that we can add in additional calorie burn is through additional movement, right? Lower level movement that's not going to hinder our recovery, but will only help to create a healthy deficit of calories or of energy. And then the top of the pyramid is all that extra stuff that's just going to enhance your progress. So we've recapped where we've been. Now you guys know we've kind of taken a step back from the micro where we've been week by week. And we've looked at the macro and why this challenge exists and why we've gone through it with this system and how it all works together. So where do we go from here? You guys might be wondering, okay, the challenge is ending. What's my next step? So I want to give you guys some ideas, and then you have the autonomy to decide what you want to do, what your next step is for your own journey, for your own path. So you have 3 options. Of course, these might not be all the options, right? But there are three paths that I foresee you taking. The first path is the maintenance path. So now you've done all this work. You should hopefully be in your genes and feeling great about your progress. And you might not just want to maintain it. So maybe it feels like kind of going back. Maybe you're not tracking every single day like we have been. Maybe you're just kind of like taking a step back and seeing if you can implement all of the tools and the guidelines that we have been working on these last couple weeks, and then checking in periodically to make sure that you're on track. So maybe instead of tracking every single day, you're tracking only 3 days out of the week, maybe 2 weekdays and a weekend, just to continue to make sure that you're on track, right? So that would be like the maintenance plan. Or you could take the second path, which is the rinse and repeat plan. So you can continue on the program exactly as we've been going. You can continue to track week by week. You can continue to do the workouts just like we've been doing, the 2 strength and 2 metabolic, continuing on that path. And you might want to double down on the areas that you've been really doing well at in this challenge. You've got those down, let's double down on them. And you might want to reflect on some of the areas that may not have been solidified in the 9 weeks of this challenge, but you're going to continue to work on them moving forward. Okay, so that's the rinse and repeat model. You're just going to take the exact same thing we did for the last 9 weeks and continue it on. Or the third challenge is that you're ready to ramp it up. Maybe you're super happy with the progress that you've made and you want to continue to see more progress moving forward. You're ready to bump it up. Or you feel like the 9 weeks of this challenge was a little tough for you. Maybe you've had some rough weeks. Maybe you had some life things that got in your way that have kind of put you back a couple weeks in the progress spectrum, and you just want a little bit of extra support moving forward. You want to extend the life of this challenge and continue to work on those things. Either way, I want to continue to support you on whatever this next path looks like, this next step in your program or your journey looks like. So I do have some options for you guys if you want to continue this program on. We can extend for another month. If you want to, we can just take this challenge and extend it out another 4 weeks, but we'll spend a little bit more time together for the next 4 weeks. Instead of having the group feel, it's going to be a little bit more one-on-one, because I want to really dial down with you and figure out what areas need to be kind of fine-tuned, or what areas we need to really push to get you to that next step in your journey. So if you're interested in that, there's still time. I am going to be closing the cart or the doors on that opportunity on Sunday night of this week. So you have all week to think about it. And then on Sunday, the doors close. We start on Monday. Okay. So I want you guys to think about this week. What's my next step? Which of these 3 options do I feel like is the next right step for me? Do I want to maintain, just see how it goes and just check in periodically? Do I want to just rinse and repeat, just continue on this program just as it's been going because it's been working really well? I just want to keep going. Or is it time to step it up? Is it time to really take this time? Maybe we need just a little bit more time together, and that's okay. That's what I'm here for as well. I want to help continue, and I'm committed to help you in your success. And before we go, I want to leave you with this little last quote. This again was from the masterclass that I did, but it's just such a good reminder of all of the hard work that you've done. So the quote, "The moment you accept responsibility for everything in your life is the moment that you gain power to change anything in your life." And I want to congratulate you for taking responsibility for your journey these past 9 weeks and putting in the work, dedicating yourself. I know that it wasn't easy. I know that there were some things that you really had to kind of like commit yourself to a level that you may not have done at any other time in your life. So you should be really proud of yourself. You did something really hard that a lot of people just can't, won't, don't do, but you did it. And I hope that you just feel really proud of yourself for doing that. And I want you to continue on at whatever level that you want to. I really want you to know that I'm proud of you for doing this. So continue to take responsibility for yourself, for your actions, and ultimately you get to take responsibility for your amazing results. So great job. I hope you guys have enjoyed this challenge, and I'm looking forward to continuing to see what the next step is for you in your journey. And I can't wait to see your photos on Thursday of this week. So I'm excited to get all those in, and then to celebrate with you on our live call on Friday or Thursday night if you're in the States. All right, hope you guys have a great final week of this challenge. I will look forward to celebrating with you later this week. Have a wonderful day.